Welcome to Horizons of Thought. Today, I'm going to discuss subsidies. In simplest terms, a subsidy is a sum of money granted by the state or public body to help an industry or business keep the price of a commodity or service low. Subsidies can include paying people to grow a crop, like corn in the United States, or offering a special tax break, like with automobile companies in Canada, or offering a wage top-up, as Singapore is currently trying with companies that hire older workers. Countries can also employ export subsidies, encouraging foreigners to buy products while discouraging local purchase. But are subsidies a good idea? Well, it depends on a lot of factors. Sometimes there are industries that simply will not survive without subsidies. This is why governments all over the world provide venture capital, especially if it involves high-risk research, a fact I've personally benefited from during my academic career. These types of subsidies cannot at all be guaranteed to be profitable. In my research, all I could make in the end was well-written research articles because the product wasn't economically viable. But as with all venture capital, the risk is actually spread across many people. Overall, government-backed venture capital does tend to make government a bit of a profit through tax revenue, and a small number of the cases that actually make it big economically. And at the same time, these research and innovation subsidies can improve national reputation and improve the education landscape. Some subsidies appear to make no profits at all, but the indirect benefits are huge. One example is subsidizing space exploration. Space exploration involves many technical and engineering tasks that are hard to solve, they're expensive, and companies like SpaceX aside typically don't make a lot of revenue. But solving space exploration problems hugely benefits societies. Ceramic heat shielding, artificial limbs, scratch-resistant lenses, insulin pumps, firefighting equipment, dust busters, LASIK surgery, shock absorbers for buildings, solar cells, and heart monitors all came from or were greatly improved as a result of subsidies to space exploration. Some subsidies benefit industries that produce products we all want to consume, but we just don't want to pay enough to keep the industry going. This problem is why we often subsidize the arts, and the results are often a huge return on ancillary tax and employment revenue as a result. That and the arts tend to make life more enjoyable. I don't really want to live without theater. Other useful subsidies are for new industries that aren't profitable now, but will be if they can get to the point where economies of scale apply. This is why governments often try to support alternative energy. Solar, wind, and tidal energy is expensive to exploit now, but it does get cheaper as more solar panels, wind turbines, and tidal energy kits are deployed worldwide. But when subsidies move away from newer marginal industries into larger, more established industries, the costs go up and the benefits tend to go down. You might still need to subsidize such for national security reasons. The United States isn't about to buy their aircraft carriers or fighter jets from Russia anytime soon. But the prices they pay to keep such things local are famously incredibly high. Abraham Lincoln wrote long letters of complaint about poor quality munitions, and the situation has popped up many times since then in the United States and elsewhere. A poor country might need to subsidize oil and gas prices so their citizens can heat their homes or travel enough to grow the economy. In these situations, the rules that apply to small industry might also apply to the gas and oil companies. The benefits of doing commerce can in some cases outweigh the costs of the subsidies. But at the same time, people working for the companies that benefit from these subsidies might not be hungry for oil and gas exploration. They might then not know how to extract either of them efficiently. The results can devastate the companies over time. Even back in the days when people used to pay actual money for oil, in the before time, Pemex, the Mexican oil company, wasn't famous for innovation. Even the once mighty Venezuelan oil industry has effectively now got no access to the oil that exists in the largest oil reserves on planet Earth. Venezuelans used to eat crops fueled by fertilizer made from oil. According to the UN, as of February 2020, 1 in 3 Venezuelans doesn't get enough food to eat at all. And these numbers are from the before time. You know, when oil still had economic value and we weren't all locked in our houses. And therein lies the biggest problem with subsidies. Subsidies make it very difficult for people and companies who are subsidized to grow and prosper. When you don't have to convince society of the value of your goods because they will pay you no matter what, you forget how to make your goods valuable. As a child, I watched my home province of Nova Scotia deal with the effects of nationalizing and subsidizing the Sydney Steel Corporation, Cisco. Long after that company had less than no economic value, they kept on subsidizing it. Doing so was an economic disaster for Nova Scotia that was responsible for billions of our provincial debt. The austerity measures required to service that debt degraded education and healthcare in Nova Scotia, and my home province still suffers from those decisions made decades ago. And at the same time, subsidies will inevitably favor one group of people over the others. I have a friend who owns a very successful business, and he found out that the subsidies recently introduced to deal with today's current disease crisis don't include businesses run by people who aren't full citizens of the country he lives in. He contributes to his country's local economy and tax base as much as any other successful business person there, but he does not benefit from the subsidies the way his competition does. This can be deeply unfair and make it difficult for business owners to respect either their host government or the business competition. Who wants to start a company, get it working, only to pay money that is then given to the competition? Targeted subsidies always end up making winners and losers, and the losers aren't going to be particularly happy with paying taxes that are then delivered directly to the winners. Lastly, subsidies can generate inferior products. If you don't have to compete with other people to get your products to market, you don't have an incentive to make the products good enough to meet the consumer's real needs. That's how we get erosion of higher education standards in most of the Western countries. This is how horrible telecommunications products, like pretty much all of the cable and internet products in the United States, come about. And poor quality cars, like the old Czech Škoda car, back when it was made under communist rule. Interestingly, by the way, Škoda today is a very nice brand. They've recovered nicely when capitalism returned. So, if you ever find yourself in a position to decide whether to make or scrap subsidies, these are the issues to consider. Is the local version of the industry absolutely necessary for national security? Are the industries small and likely to grow with short-term help? Are the industries culturally valuable even if they don't grow? Do the industries provide huge secondary benefits even if they don't grow? Or are you just creating resentments or propping up big useless companies with little benefits? These are actually not easy questions to answer, and they require careful thought and debate to work out effectively. Decide wisely and seek counsel from many people who would and will disagree with each other vehemently. This has been Horizons of Thought. If you liked this episode, please click like. If you disliked this episode, please click dislike. In either case, click the subscribe button and ring the bell for episode notifications. If you want to support this channel, please go to the donor box link below. I offer subscription benefits based on your level of subscription. And I will see you in a few days.